Hello everybody. Finally getting a chance to record this video on whether or not certain pieces of the certain mind principles have been hidden from us. Sorry, I'm a little struggles here. Tired. Finally getting a chance to record this video. The stars have aligned and I bribed my child, my eldest, to watch my baby. And I can actually record this now. And I wanted to talk about something that greatly interests me, and that's the field of psychology. It's something that I've been deep into and studied a lot on over the past few years. And the reason why I started doing it was actually because I was severely depressed. I was suffering greatly with these crazy ups and downs all the time, and I wanted to figure out why. I wanted to unravel my mind. And the real kicker was when we lost our daughter in 2014, and essentially I ended up feeling like I had no choice. I had to go get put on meds, and that was the first time I had been put on depression meds and anxiety meds, etc. I had just been dealing with it my whole life. And ultimately, I advocate against meds a lot, I really do, but I do want to put a disclaimer out. If meds are going to help you not do something stupid, then you need to take some meds. Like, if meds are going to get you all right in the moment so you can talk to somebody, then by all means do that. But the key is not staying on the meds forever. And that was never supposed to be the answer when it comes to these. Are not long-term medication. That's not what they're meant to be. Depression is not something that means your brain is broken. It is stupid to think that, and it's something that I believe is being fed to us, spoon-fed full of lies, because they want us to go to them for their medications. When in reality, you have something inside of you that you need to deal with. And if I'm wrong and you have absolutely nothing, you've had a picture-perfect life and you're still depressed, then I'm wrong. However, for the vast majority of folks, it is something that you haven't dealt with. And that's because our understanding of emotions and time healing us has been manipulated. We're being told over and over again that time heals you, and time, it'll get better with time. And that is the case, but not the case at the same time. Let me put that out there, because you do stop thinking about it as much, but until you deal with that, it's still in there. It's still in there wreaking havoc on your body. And there's all kinds of evidence that suggests that these emotions are literally stored in your body. And what's causing your depression is guaranteed something you haven't dealt with. That trauma that's inside of you that you did not deal with. You need to face that. That is why people who go, if you've never heard of ayahuasca, people go to South America or Mesoamerica, wherever it is, don't judge me, Central America probably, and they take this brew that the natives concocted, and it takes, people say it's like doing 10 years of therapy in a single session. And what it does is it forces you to go inside of your own mind. That is what people need to understand. The key ingredient of this is DMT. What this does is it forces you to go on a journey inside your mind and literally face your trauma, face your fears, and snaps you out of it. So what does that tell you? These thoughts, these things are real, and they exist inside your body. And the people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is somebody who I've gotten quite into as of late, they study this area quite heavily, and he's one of the people I wanted to reference here. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Carl Jung, and Dr. Sigmund Freud are people I want to reference. So Dr. Joe Dispenza is a prominent author, speaker, and researcher known for his work in the field of neuroscience, human potential, and personal transformation. A summary of his work. Neuroplasticity and the mind-body connection. Dr. Joe Dispenza emphasizes the concept of neuroplasticity, which refers to the brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections throughout life. He explores the powerful connection between the mind and body, suggesting that our thoughts and emotions can influence our physical health and well-being. It's probably the most important statement you're ever going to read, because what does that suggest? Most people don't know this, but it is a scientific fact that you can turn on the stress hormone in your body by thought alone. So that means that your thoughts can make you sick. And this is something that, why would they want the public to actively know this? Because then they couldn't flood us full of all this nonsense that makes us fear and, afraid like they were doing over the past couple of years. They know that fear can make you sick. Just like hypochondriacs, you can quite literally think yourself into sickness. And this is, something that he is studying, is whether or not the opposite is true. So if your thoughts can make you sick, can our thoughts then make us healthy? I know that this is the truth, that your thoughts can make you healthy, 100%. People always laugh about that, but the power of positivity works for a reason. And the reason is because our minds, our subconscious minds, are like a magnet. They're like a garden. So you're constantly throughout the day supplanting thoughts into this garden, and they take root. So the subconscious mind will reproduce negativity just like it will reproduce positivity. So I'm going to give you a bombshell here. The bad luck that you think is caused by somebody else or some demon or the devil or whatever you want to call it, it's you. The bad luck, the reason for everything is you. The moment you realize this, the moment you can become free. And it is truly freeing to understand that we are the cause and the solution to all our problems. Just by changing your everyday thoughts, you can change your whole life. And the book I've been reading, called Think and Grow Rich, was published in 1937. They seemed to have a knowledge in 1937. This is one of the inspirations for all this, the reason I'm here right now. They seem to have a knowledge in 1937 that we don't have now. And one of the reasons I mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza is because he is now researching the areas that we should have been researching over the last 100 years. He's using, modern science and brain scans and whatnot to prove the points that we already knew, but have been, covered up. Why have these areas been covered up? Why have we not been told this stuff? And I believe it's because how can they sell you medicine if you know you don't need it? That's the truth. Because we are being sold. Every single day we're being sold medication on TV. The pharmaceutical companies pay more in advertisement than anyone. They control the hospitals. They control what the universities teach. They control just about every aspect of the medical field. And anyone who doubts this can look over the past couple years of what was happening during something I'm not going to name. But anyone who had an alternative opinion was silenced. They were deplatformed and silenced. That has never been a thing in science. Never. You are always able to question what you're being told. Would you not get a second opinion from a different doctor if somebody was telling you something? Damn right you would. So the idea that there couldn't be other opinions was an immediate red flag for people like me who are free thinkers. And now that the science is coming out about it, we're realizing that, hey, these people that were coming out against it were not crazy. I'm not going to focus too much on that, but we know what we're talking about. And again, in 1937, when this book was published, they're talking about how, one of the things he mentions is that one of the congressmen wrote a letter to the newspaper suggesting that they stop talking about the flu and stop putting fear-based stuff about the flu into the newspaper, because we're going to have a problem we can't control at that point because of the amount of people that are going to believe they're sick because the doom and gloom that you're putting into the news. And why do you think that they did that over the past couple of years? Why do you think they posted nothing but doom and gloom? Why do you think the news is all doom and gloom? Because they know that fear is the strongest emotion in the human body when it comes to your subconscious mind. Fear is always going to overcome everything else. That's why they tell you when you pray, it's faith over fear. You need to have faith and belief and emotion that your prayer is going to be answered. And you do that by constantly repeating prayers. Like, the answer is to pray like you already have that item. That's the shortened biblical quote. I don't know the whole quote, I don't want to butcher it, but you, in prayer, the reason what you're trying to do is get this idea into your subconscious mind, and you do that by repetition and emotionalizing the prayer. It's really good to write it, but anyway, I'm not going to go quite into that. But Dr. Joe Dispenza also does work on the placebo effect. Now, everybody's heard about the placebo effect. Everybody knows that it's used in every single study, every single medication study. They use placebo meds. So what is the placebo effect? No one has came out and said, hey, this is this. What the placebo effect tells us is that our minds can create the effects of these medications that we're being given. Our minds can create health, 100%. It is very important to know that your mind is creating your reality. We have an effect over our reality just by our thoughts. It is so freeing to understand this. And that's why it's not being taught to the public. That's why it's not, they don't want an empowered public. They want a public that comes to them for all their needs and spends billions of dollars on drugs. Because, they profit off of sickness. If you want to know if someone's evil, just know, would these companies exist if everyone was healthy? No. They are profiting off sickness, and that is wrong. They are profiting off things like insulin. Tell me how that's not the most evil thing in the planet, and people still trust these people. Think about needing to pay astronomical amounts for a medication that keeps you alive. I have a friend who has to pay astronomical amounts of money for a medicine that keeps him alive. I have a friend, my friend's mom, who has to pay, or who needs a medication that would greatly improve her life, but she can't afford it because it's astronomical. Tell me that's not wrong. It is very wrong. And yet people still trust these companies. People still trust the science. Trusting science is the most anti-science thing there is, because science is always changing and evolving. And I want to know why. It's been almost 100 years, and what has happened in the field of psychology since then? Why is it that it's taken this guy right now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, to finally start working on this stuff? And what has been going on the past 100 years? Why have we not evolved to the point where all this is common knowledge and taught in schools? Why are we not taught how to regulate our emotions in school, instead of all the absolute nonsense that they teach us that we don't freaking need? All the gen ed courses, like in going to a college, it could be shortened to like a year if you just took what you needed. But no, you're cluttered up with all this gen ed stuff so they can milk you for every single dollar that you have. And the courses that you are taught, as far as like psychology and medicine and whatnot, they are carefully tailored by the pharmaceutical companies. And it's crazy to me that they don't teach you what power you really have inside of your mind. I mean, I guess it isn't crazy if you're trying to be controlled. I don't know. But one of the other people I mentioned was Dr. Carl Jung. So Dr. Carl Jung is very, very important in the field of psychology. He's like probably anytime you take a psychology class, it's probably the first person you'll learn about. And he did quite a bit of work, and he's, I think, one of the prominent people who talks about the subconscious mind, or he called it the unconscious mind. And this is a very important thing to learn about, because this is what controls your reality. This is what creates your reality. And until you realize what is going on, you're on like autopilot. Like, especially if you experienced a lot of trauma when you were younger, you are on autopilot. Many of us feel like they're in survival mode, and this is the reason why. So he was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, if you don't know who he is. who made significant contributions to the field of psychology, particularly in the areas of analytical psychology and the understanding of the human psyche. Here's a brief summary of his work. Analytical psychology. Jung developed a unique approach to psychology known as analytical psychology. He emphasized the importance of the unconscious mind and believed that it contained not only personal experience, but the collective and universal aspects, which he called the collective unconscious. If anybody's watched any of my live streams, I always talk about the collective consciousness. So it has been proven that we are connected in mind. That is how the idea of telepathy and stuff like that works. You're essentially tuning into somebody else's subconscious mind and picking up that vibration of those thought impulses that are going out. And again, anybody who doubts this is proven scientific data. You can look up the work of Dr. Carl Jung. It is 100% proven. Why is this not something the mind principle should be something that's taught in school 100%. Everyone should know about psychology way more than we do. We should learn how to regulate emotions. We should know how to train our subconscious mind. And it can be done. So again, analytical psychology aimed to explore and integrate these unconscious elements to an individual's conscious and awareness. So it's bringing the unconscious to the conscious, which is your analytical, your thinking brain. One of Jung's key concepts was the archetypes, which he defined as the universal symbolic patterns or images that are present in the collective unconsciousness. Archetypes represent fundamental human experiences and themes such as the mother, the hero, the shadow, the anima, the animus. According to Jung, these archetypes influence our behavior, beliefs, and perceptions. So this is something that I believe personally, that when you are on autopilot before you consciously wake up to the fact that you are in control, you are bound by archetypes. You are bound, like by the zodiac symbols, if you will. And so when people talk about, hey, I'm a Virgo because of this, or this happens because I'm a Virgo or whatever, it's because that person is not awake. They're not awake to the fact of what they truly are, that they are the ones in control. He also talks, or is one of the founders of the idea of synchronicity, and synchronicity has been the entire thing behind, I named my podcast Synchronized Universe, because of the idea of synchronicity. So synchronicity, he explored the phenomenon of synchronicity, which refers to the meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by cause and effect, but rather suggest a deeper connection between the individual and the collective unconscious. He proposed that there is a deeper order and meaning to the universe beyond rational explanations. So what does that mean? So synchronicity is oh man, I was just talking about that. So say you're talking about something with your friend and you experience that in your reality. That is synchronicity. That is the universe lining up. You are a magnet. Look at yourself like a magnet. You're going to attract these things into your experience that you talk about with emotions and faith. That is how prayer works. And the reason why most people's prayers don't work or don't get answered is because they allow fear, which is going to be the dominant emotion in your mind, to get in there and ruin it. So there's your answer. If you want your prayers to be answered, stop being afraid. I'm about out of time, so I'm going to touch on Dr. Sigmund Freud, who is an Austrian neurologist, for those that don't know who he is. The founder of psychoanalysis, the psychological approach that revolutionized the understanding of human behavior and mental processes. Oh, Sigmund Freud. So he proposed that the mind is composed of three levels. The unconscious mind, where's it at? The mind is composed of three levels, sorry. Conscious mind, preconscious mind, and unconscious mind. So conscious, preconscious, and unconscious, which is also referred to as the subconscious. I believe that the preconscious is like your reptilian brain. That's your basic human reactions, like your fight or flight, I guess you could say. I believe that's what they call the reptilian brain. But again, the reason why I got into this subject is I've been a student of the mind for a few years now. I got into the book by Dr. Joseph Murphy here, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. It changed my life. And then, I've been kind of on a little downward spiral, or I get a little bit of a inspiration every now and again. But then again, I started reading this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it has lit a fire in me. And honestly, since I have started practicing the principles of mind in this book, I've not had a single negative day. I've been exercising every single day of the week. I've been honestly doing way more things that I should be doing and should have been doing for a long time. And honestly, I feel great about it. And that's why I'm trying to get on here and start talking about the mind, because I want to help you understand that it's not hopeless. You're not broken. You're sad because you have something inside of you that you need to deal with. And the series called The Law of One talks about this heavily. They say, in forgiveness lies the stoppage of the wheel of karma. So there's a reason why forgiveness is a focal point in almost every single religion, every single spiritual subject, because forgiveness is one of the most important things, because it releases the trauma, it releases all of that inside of you. And I need a disclaimer here that forgiveness doesn't mean what the other person did is okay. Forgiveness is releasing the power that person holds over you. It releases that trauma bond, that emotion that you have inside of you. But again, I'm about out of time. Please check out my Spotify Anchor podcast, which is Reflections with 3s instead of E's, just like my YouTube. Also, I'm on TikTok with the same name. Please check me out. I am aiming to help people. I'm aiming to expand this. Please like and subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Josh, Reflections, signing off.